네, 감사합니다. 그럼 바로 이어서 첫 번째 연자인 안토니오 벨라 교수님 모시고 히프라유니버시티 본격적으로 시작하도록 하겠습니다. 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, thank you very much to all of the team of Hipra. I appreciate a lot your invitation to give me this opportunity to share with you today, talking about reproduction. The reproduction is my passion, so I am very, very happy to be with you today. And it's not only happy to be, it's an honor also. So today we are going to give a review of mainly points of reproduction, especially focused in a couple of techniques in relation with ultrasound. These techniques are in relation with the puberty, and the second technique is in relation with insemination, ideal insemination program. So we have too many things to talk about today, so don't hesitate to ask me in every moment of my presentation, please. When you want, you can interrupt me and ask me whatever you want. So who I am? This is my company. In this company, we are a small advisors company in Spain. We are two partners, Luis and Joaquin and myself. And I am working as a vet for 25 years. And this is our team. Nowadays, we are 8 vets working in all around Spain, and we are giving advice in other parts of the world. And we have two mainly actions. We are working inside of the farms with the companies in Spain, giving all in relation with advisors. And the other focus is we are doing clinical assays for different companies also. And as I said, we work inside of the farms with the farmers, with different companies in all the areas, in reproduction, handle, sanitary, etc., everything. For us, it's very important to share with other colleagues our knowledge, and this is one of the reasons because of I am here today. So let's go. This is the index that we are trying to review today, and we are going to introduce this presentation. Try to share with you how important is the reproduction. I suppose that you know how important is in terms of economic losses or in terms of productivity. This is our data in relation with the sows that we have to send to the slaughtering house in relation with the cost. So as you can see, 34% of our animals are sent into the slaughtering house due to reproductive reasons, including sometimes that we have to send to the slaughtering house other animals that have reproductive failure also, in consequence that other problems like limenasis or other situations that we have daily in our farms. And if you can see in this graph, the mainly cause of sent to the slaughtery in gilts, especially in gilts or in the first farrowings, are the reproduction failure also. And as far as you know, it's very important to maintain the census, the ideal census in our farm. If we want to control the productivity, our best farms have also continually, month by month, year by year, the correct ideal census. In this graph, you can see the different ideal census depending on your target to send to the slaughtery your animals. For instance, if your target is sent to all the animals in the 6th cycle, you have to have this percentage of animals in every cycle and go on. So in general terms, the loss that is allowed to lose in every cycle is no more than 50% of the animals between the cycles. So this is the meaning of that is that all the animals that we have in the first cycle, we don't have to lose more than the 50% of them to the second cycle, and this one to the third. So this is our ideal retention rate, is between 70 and 75%. This is our target. So the retention rate is one of the most important indexes that we are using in our farms with our clients to see if the farm is okay or not. And to maintain this target, that the retention rate 70% means that if you have 100% of animals here, you have to have at least 70% in the third cycle. This is one of the most important index for us, and in this is very important all in relation with the acclimatation of our gilts, including sanitary and reproductive acclimatation. Another point that we are looking also, this is more or less a summary that the graphs that we are using in our farms to control. Is very important to have this graph, but because of only in one look you can see if the things are good or not. And this, for instance, in this case we have a couple of columns. These columns is in relation with the numbers, is in relation with the production, with the flow of the production every month in every year. And in this another column you have all the data in relation with the productivity. For instance, the farrowing rate, the total bones per farrowing, something like that. And as you can see here, we have 2 years ago, 1 year ago, and the present year. And we have all the data for all our farms, and we are looking every month how the farm is. Sometimes happens that it's difficult to see if these numbers are good or not, and this is the reason due to we use these index colors. That means that we have all this data we have in these rows, and this is all the months of the year, and every square show us how is the results with respect with our target. For instance, on green is that the results is okay, is between the 5% of our target. The orange is when we have between 5 and 10% of our target, and in red is when we have less than 10% of our target. For instance, in this farm, that is a very good farm with 34 piglets weaned per sow per year, if you can see, almost 90% of the data are inside of our target month by month. So let's go to move before I want talking about how important is the acclimatation of our gilts. So let's go to try to give some information about how we control the puberty, because we can talk about gilts all the day, but we are going to put the focus today in how we can see the puberty in these animals using ultrasound. Okay, so first of all, I am going to tell you some image in relation with the anatomical structure of the reproductive tract. This is the uterus of an in puberty animal. As you know, the gilts come on puberty around or between 6 and 7 months. Is very, very important, the contact with the boar. If you can put in contact every day, better. Is very, very important, the healthy status. Is very, very important, the body condition of the animals. Remember, first, if we need to be a high concentration of estrogens for these estrogens go to the hypothalamus and active the GnRH, and all of the cycle is coming with this. But for this high concentration of estrogens, we need mandatory high concentration of leptin. Leptin is a mainly growth factor, and leptin is produced by the adipocytes. The adipocytes are the fat of the animal. Without fat, we never ever have puberty. So I insist in this point because it's very important. In many cases I go to farms and I see that they have problems with the puberty. The gilts don't come on puberty, and in most of that cases is because of the millimeters of the body condition, millimeters of fat is very poor. Sometimes they have 7 millimeters, 8 millimeters, 9 millimeters. This is not enough. Most of the genetic recommendation are around 14 millimeters, and this is our target, around 14, 15, something like that. So remember a couple of things. Very, very important, the contact with the board, very important, and very, very important, the nutrition and the body condition of our girls. So let's go. As I told you, this is a reproductive tract of an in-puberty animal. As you can see, is very thin, the horn of the uterus, and the size of the uterus is very small. Also, the ovary only have very little follicles, no more than 2 or 3 millimeters. But the things are totally different in the second and the third cycle. Just in the first cycle, like in this image, is completely different. The size of the uterus is increased a lot, and okay, you can have or you can see the ovary in different ways, in corporal lutea or in with follicles in the case that you have a follicular phase. But most important is that the size of the uterus changes completely, becomes to be bigger. And this size characteristic is that we are going to use for the diagnosis with ultrasound. This is my machine, and if you have to, at the beginning, we use this machine to try to analyze the puberty on the animals, and we have to look in 3 important ways. First, size and position of the uterus. Second, the horn section. For instance, in this image, this section is less than 1 centimeter, and when the diameter is less than 1 centimeter, then you can say that it's not puberty. And the third is check the ovary, check the follicles, and I said before that the follicles don't have more than 2-3 millimeters. But I understood that not everybody can have this kind of ultrasound because it's expensive, because perhaps it requires more technical or is not very common to use in a farm, and I began to work in how to analyze this with the ultrasound that you have in your farm. All of these pictures that you are seeing now are taken with this ultrasound. That is a common ultrasound. It's an ultrasound of $1,000, something like that. It's the typical ultrasound that everybody has in the farms. So, to check the puberty, first thing that we have, we are going to see 3 different structures. First time, the bladder is something very common for all of you. It's very, very simple to see the bladder. Second, the digestive system. To distinguish the digestive system, if you can see this white line, this one or this another one, this is the top of the digestive system. All of this part is digestive. And what we have in the middle, this echogenic area, or this another one, is the uterus. Imagine in your mind the image in the ultrasound when we check a non-pregnant animal. You see the uterus and you say, okay, this is a non-pregnant animal. You are able to recognize the uterus. This is the same picture. This one, this one, this one, or this one. On the top, you can see a very small uterus. In the most of the cases, is under the bladder and occupies a very, very little part on the screen. On the contrary, on the bottom, you have this big uterus that occupies the most of the screen. So this is non-puberty animal and this is puberty animal. When you improve your technique, later you are going to see another characteristic, that is the section of the area of the uterus, this part. And usually in your sonography, you are going to have a rule here with centimeters, every centimeter. So if you remember before, when the section of the area is less than 1 centimeter, we consider the animal like a non-puberty. But if we have a big section of the uterus, more than 1 centimeter, we consider this a puberty animal. Let's go to see another examples. For instance, in this picture, you can see here a big uterus in this part. This very, very high side. Here we have the bladder, and here is the digestive system. Again, we have a puber now. compare with this other animal with this small uterus just under the bladder, and most of the image is occupied by the digestive system. Here we have another example, the big uterus, just we can see the ovary here in the middle with the follicles. We have here another puber animal. This is another one, no puberty. Again, most of the image is occupied by the digestive system, and the uterus is occupied a small part. Sometimes we have extreme cases with this very small uterus. In that case, this is an animal of 10 months of life who has an infantilism problem with an ovaries with no more than 1 centimeter, and the uterus is no more than 30 longer. I remember this animal perfectly. It's a normal animal, visually it's normal, but have this kind of problems, and this problem is irresolvable. Also, if you use gonadotropins, is not able to induce estrus. Now we are going to see how a little of examples of practical application that I am using in the farm. First of all, sometimes the people tell me when is the best age for the first insemination. Or imagine that you have a problem with the total bones in your gills. One of the things that you can do in your farms is talk with a farmer and say, okay, tell me when you are doing the first insemination. And for instance, this is a real example. The farmers told me that they are inseminate for first time their gills with 7.5 months. And I check by ultrasound different gills with the age of 5, 6, and 7 months, trying to see when the puberty is coming. As you can see here, 80% of the animals with 7 months are on puberty. So the meaning of that is that 20% of them are not on puberty with 7 months. If your first insemination in your gills are in 7.5 months, the meaning of that is that 20% of the animals with high possibility is going to be mated in the first cycle. And as far as you know, the first cycle has an ovulation rate very poor. For instance, in the second, third, or more cycles, you have ovulation rate normally on average around 25, 28 eggs. But in the first cycle, is that number go down to no more than 20, 15, 20 eggs per sow. So in this particular case, we have to move the first insemination to 8 months to be sure that we have all our gills are inseminated at least in the second or the third cycle. And in our farms, this is our protocol to control the puberty, because we don't have to check all the animals. We have to check only the animals which no one see in these animals a hit. So the process would be, this is between 6 and 7 months, we began to use the TC board to put in contact the board with the gills to stimulate the first cycle. With 7 months, we translate, or we move these animals, these gills, to the gels for the acclimatation to the stales. In that moment, we know that around 80–85% of them has psoas and estrus. And with 7 months, more or less 15% of them never psoas and estrus, or nobody detected. All the animals who psoas and estrus, we wait for the second or for the third cycle, depending on the necessity that you have in your target of matings per week. And this 15% of the animals who never in the farm detect the estrus, we check with ultrasound. So we are checking around 15 animals in every 100 gills. The time to check one animal is the similar time that that takes you with a pregnant diagnosis. So if the animal is when we check if the animal is on puberty because of the size of the uterus is bigger, then we have two possibilities. We have problems with the heat detection, sometimes in the farm happens sometimes with the farmers, or the heat is a poor quality, have a poor quality. I have to tell you that this problem, quality of the heat, is a problem that I am seeing more and more in the farms. And the meaning of this poor heat is that the animal inside have a normal follicular phase, but they don't give us a standing answer. This is a very important behavior of the animals, a very important problem, and with a very difficult resolution. By the other side, we have some animals who are not on puberty. And these animals directly, with these 7 months, directly we use gonadotropins in this 10% of this animal. So it's important not to wait. It's important to try to induce directly this first cycle as soon as better. 2% of this one don't give us a good answer to the gonadotropins. And with 8 months, the gill who never saw us a hit with 8 months, and that with 7 months we treated with 7 months and don't have a good answer with gonadotropins, we send to the slaughtery. A normal data for this group of animals are 1-2%, no more. And the most of them show us a normal estrus, and we wait. Is very, very important not inseminate the animal when you induce the first estrus with gonadotropins. Very important because of the ovulation rate is very poor and the size of the uterus is very poor also. So you have to wait for the second and third estrus. So this is our protocol to control the puberty in our farms. And I would like to show you this picture because of here we have a fattening with 11,000 animals, all of them gills, and with 5 different genetics. All the genetics are in the same condition, but the result with respect to the puberty, and we checked many of them, 3,600 animals, as you can see, more or less with 7 months. And as you can see, we have different results for different genetics. I show you this picture because of the most important is not to tell you that the 5 genetic is better than 1. No, this is not the message. The message is that with these conditions, that particular condition affect directly to the animals, and they give us an answer, different answer. So it's important to understand under your condition how is the age of puberty, because can change with respect to other farm. So feel confident to use ultrasound to check your puberty. For instance, another example is if you are synchronize your estrus, and as far as you know, you have or you need a gill on puberty to synchronize the estrus because of you need activity in the ovary. And sometimes happens that the alternogest doesn't work, and everybody suspect that the people is not apply properly. But sometimes happens that a high percentage of these gills are impuber, and this is the reason due to the alternogest doesn't work. So to use this technique in your farms is easier and can give you a lot of answer for many problems that you can have in relation with reproduction of your gills.